position. There we go. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is John Loren with the Chair of the Finance Committee here in Millis. I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order today on Wednesday, March 12th of 2025 at 7 p.m. Before we get going, I'd like to start off and have people introduce themselves, starting off to my left.
Sarah Reyes.
Joyce Boyardi.
Pete Berube.
Kathy McInnes.
Thank you. And we have a couple of FinCom members that are on Zoom. Mike Crone, if you could introduce yourself. Oh, I think you're volume. Oh, you might be muted actually. And Jody's here. Can you speak, Jody? Try speaking. She is. But we don't hear you, either one of you. That's all right.
Their hands up.
Yeah, we'll go by the hand motion here in a minute. We'll see if we, you should be able to speak. Interesting. Okay, let's not worry about that for right now. I think Peter Underhill is going to be joining us momentarily as well, so that's fantastic. So I'd like to remind everyone out there that there are many ways to access the Finance Committee's meeting and the material that we have. So you can either watch it on your local access channel at home. I believe that's Comcast Channel 6 and Verizon Channel 38. You can also go to the town website, millismedia.org, for the community channel. And then we are actually streaming this live on YouTube. And last, old school style, you can show up in person and attend our meeting just like you can with the select board and the school committee meeting as well. So we welcome anyone that's here, a few familiar faces in the crowd. And last, all the material that we have that we'll cover is available on the Finance Committee webpage online. So you can always reference that page and utilize those resources if you want to take a further look at them. And just a reminder to all of our members as well as our guest speakers tonight, just to speak into the microphone directly about 4 inches away so the recording can actually pick up your voice. So without further ado, let's get into the Veterans Office here. John?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, I don't have a very robust budget, so I think I can answer maybe any questions, but it's a total of $48,000. A lot of that, roughly $22,000. Actually, if we do use that, it gets 75% of it gets reimbursed by the state of Massachusetts. That's the Chapter 115 benefit, and that's for veterans that are below the poverty line. Thankfully, in Millis, there's not too many of those veterans. There's 2 widows who are on it, and they're roughly about $800 a month, and we pay out to them, and then we get about $600 back per month from the state of Massachusetts. That's 75%. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on any of my line items.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course. I got to give you some limelight here. You only have 3 minutes. No, I'm just joking.
I can keep talking.
So most of that is our reimbursements from the state for veterans benefits, the $22,000.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. And then
A lot of times I give back to the town at the end of the end of the year, just because things happen. One of these people could pass away. They're older. That's what kind of usually happens. They're like, "Oh, you're giving back $3,000. Why?" They died. So that's kind of usually how it morbidly happens.
Yeah.
But then, if a family of 5 comes in my office and they are below the poverty line and they're a veteran, obviously, then it would be more. But that doesn't usually happen in Millis. However, it has happened through the years where people have gone on the program and off the program on federal benefits and stuff like that. So that's kind of a living amount. So I kind of put a little bit of fluff, but at the end of the year, it's very little, and I give back usually, a few $1,000s to the town. So.
Okay. And then the other smaller line items here, though, burials, $3,500?
Yeah, actually, one of the widows that is on our Chapter 115 program, her husband she had to get his body back, and we used that money. The last time I used it was to use that money to get the veteran body back and
Back.
buried. So
Okay.
it was one of those kind of emergency funds, and I've used it since 2019. I've tapped into those funds, I think 3 times on similar things where we had to get bodies out.
Yeah.
And again, kind of morbid, I apologize.
All
and,
good.
and then, so a lot of times I've given that full back if nothing happens during the year. But something actually kind of recent, well, last year, so.
Go ahead, Joyce. Speaking to the mic.
This is morbid too, but where do you have to get the bodies back from?
The actual homes, I'm sorry, not the morgue either, the funeral homes, I'm sorry. So, just to pay for their, like, cremation, that was the last one we paid for, was a cremation, because cremation is actually cheapest.
Yeah.
So, but the gentleman's body was actually at the hospital, and they wouldn't relinquish it.
Gotcha.
Until we came up with some money, so that payments usually go to the funeral homes. Sorry.
Okay.
Kind of odd.
Anyone else have any questions? Go ahead, Mike. You know what? You're still coming in muted here, Mike. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can navigate here.
It happened to me once.
Mike Crone, check your volume on your computer, because I'm showing your mic is live.
Would be volume on ours. Like on the TV.
Oh, maybe it is.
But it is on.
Hang on. Let's try this also here. What do you think?
I got this one.
Pete's turning on a TV across the street in someone's house with this remote. Cannot hear you, Mike. Do you want to, can you type in the chat area? I don't even know if do we have chat here?
I don't see chat.
Can he text you?
Yeah. How about you? Do you want to text me, Mike?
You may not want to do that.
Or actually, send an email to me via the Millis email address for me. I'll look for it right now. Oh, yeah. So we can't hear Mike or anyone on Zoom. We have a remote and a mouse. Got this? Okay, I got Mike's question right here. Are your services related to any federal funding?
I do VA claims where, so they, like, as of right now, I guess, Millis has 380 veterans and 129 receive federal funding. As a matter of fact, Millis is actually, compared to other communities, percentage-wise, our veterans get about $276,000 a month, back into the Millis economy.
Okay.
But that's through the VA.
Yeah.
The one that I talked about earlier was Chapter 115, which has to deal with the poverty line. But there's also federal benefits that what I try to do is first do the federal, and then if there's a delta there, I
Yep.
go to use the Chapter 115 benefits.
Okay.
Can I, Mr.
Go ahead, Pete.
Unless Mr. Crone has given you a add-on question.
He has not.
I'm gonna lean a little forward and paraphrase what I think he may be asking, but I'm interested in. I think he asked, is your funding for your services come from any federal budget?
Oh.
And I don't know why he's interested, but I don't want to speculate, it's not for me to say, but I'm interested because there are cuts to the federal government.
Right.
And I'm wondering if your services potentially could be affected.
No, I work for the town of Millis. It's strictly in Massachusetts. Every state does it differently. Some states have like veteran centers where they have a whole bunch of like VSOs right there. But the way Massachusetts does it, delegates it to the towns, and there are Bigger cities have, one VSO and a whole big staff, or like Medway, Holliston, Ashland all have the same VSO, and Millis has a part-time, so
Gotcha.
the town pays me.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? John, I appreciate your time and giving us an update on everything, so we wish you the best, and hopefully things will be good for the next fiscal year for you. All right.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you
good
very
night. Thanks for taking the time.
Say hi to Lauren.
All right. Moving on to the building fiscal year 26 budget request. Looks like, Joe, can you speak? Does your volume work? Huh. Interesting. Hang tight. We're not getting any volume here. Why would that be? Let's see here. Joe. Huh.
It's registering.
It's right, yeah, you're. I'll take any, let's see. Mute my audio.
If you go to the right lower corner, right near the time.
Right there?
Yeah, is that?
Oh.
Mike is motioning.
Hang on.
That wasn't nice, Mike. No.
See if the TV found it. We just checked the TV sound, Mike, on the TV. Give us one more second here. Let's see here. Phone
How about the
audio.
Speaker. Speakers.
It's not this guy, is it? No, he usually comes through.
No, go further up. There. No, next.
Joe, talk.
There.
Oh,
we got it.
Joy saved the day.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah. Hang on, we just have to do some. All right, Joe, give it another whirl. Let's see if we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, it works. It's not perfect, but it works. So feel free and be loud.
All right, I'll be as loud as I can, I guess. So I'm new to town, obviously, as the building commissioner. Looking for, everything for level services, level funding. Not looking for any increases or anything at this time. The only thing that we had put forward was for a vehicle capital planning. So that, I don't know if that's going to go through or not, or more information. But as far as the funding itself for our salaries and pay for our expenses, otherwise, I'm looking for level funding services.
Okay, so, sorry, I was just fiddling with the computer again. So do you want to talk about your capital request then, Joe?
Yeah, so the capital request that we're in was for an inspection vehicle, to be utilized for the department. One of the things that I noticed, in the short term of deciding to the town was we had 3 fire calls, 3 emergencies, over the month of January. And arriving on scene, I didn't have a vehicle other than my personal vehicle to show up at the scene, and I was kind of questioning of like who I was, why was I there, how did I get notified, that sort of information. And the thing that I'm noticing too as well is that when I go to property and stuff, I'm showing up in my own pickup truck, and being, identified as being a member of the town, working with the community, and doing inspection and things of that nature. I'm kind of not knowing, so it's just like somebody showing up on your property and you're wondering who this person is and why they're there. So I'm using it more as like an identification piece, plus also to respond to emergencies. So that was my capital request for an SUV. And the reason why I was going with an SUV that will potential is because some construction sites are rough in nature and getting in and out of those construction sites are difficult to do with terrain. So I'm looking for a full vehicle.
Gotcha, okay. And then, I know you spoke at the capital planning committee, but as of right now, you and other inspectors drive your own cars, is that correct?
Correct, and we get mileage reimbursement for wherever we go. The mileage is computed from the town hall to the location back to the town hall. However, like a big portion of my day, not only do I do scheduled inspections, but I also do complaints, and I do other inspections for investigative work and stuff with the town, make sure we're complying with bylaws and with the laws as far as requiring permits and whatnot. And a lot of that goes recorded as far as mileage for my vehicle, because it's not a set, inspection from one place to another. So I'm putting a lot of time and mileage on my own vehicle, and, it's taking up a lot of gas, but I'm not getting reimbursed for all that driving that I have to do, within the town limits. So that was one of the other reasons why I was asking for a vehicle. That way then when I'm going, going around and doing my investigations, it's very evident of who I am and what I'm doing. Just somebody, like I said, random pickup truck driving around town.
Gotcha, makes sense. Does anyone have any questions for pickup check? Go ahead, Joyce.
The only thing is, the Council on Aging turned over a vehicle to the town, to the memorial building for the employees to use. Is that the vehicle that he could use, rather than getting a new truck?
Mo-
It would be one of the alternatives we'd look at if the town decided not to go through with the
Yeah.
new vehicle. So I can't say we've made any final determinations yet.
So, because you did not come up to the mic, Mike, could you repeat that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Mr. Chairman, Mike
Yeah.
Kaczynski, Town Administrator.
Thank you.
Our new building commissioner submitted this request as part of the capital plan. The capital committee is currently in the process of reviewing this. Looking to see if we have any surplus vehicles that might be available as part of the broader process we always look at. So we will be at least taking a look at that before any final determinations are made going forward.
How many vehicles do we have, other than the one that the council donated?
How many vehicles we have?
Yeah,
The
define-
town has
define that,
dozens
Joyce.
and
No,
dozens
no,
of
no,
vehicles.
I apologize. For the employees to use, is it just the one?
Define employees.
And you talking about the employees that work in the municipal center?
Yes.
We really don't have, other than the council on aging vehicles, there aren't
There aren't
any
any
vehicles that
others,
I'm aware of.
so that's the
Yeah.
only one, okay.
Yeah, that's actively being used right
Okay.
now.
Go ahead, Pete.
Does the town pay any other employees mileage?
Yes, the town would pay any employee mileage that's traveling specifically for town business.
Okay.
So, I mean, theoretically, if there were no plans for the building department to use the vehicle that day, or if we had another urgent matter that needed a car to go somewhere on a day, that could be possible as
I'm
well.
just trying to see if there's precedent and if it's normal.
Yes, yes, it-
Frankly, I think it's a perfectly reasonable request for the building inspector to have a vehicle. But then my thinking goes to what's the most economical way to pay it. And I'm not sure if there's any history on the mileage of the building commissioner over the years that you could estimate the cost of per diem or per mile mileage, times that annually, and then throw some magnetic decals or something on the vehicle
That's what I was
if
thinking.
available. And I'm sure the select board and the town, hopefully the town will look at that to say what's the best way to do it. Perhaps it is buying or leasing a vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, the capital committee did request some information about mileage and reimbursements, and I think the capital committee will be discussing that even tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
I'm sure going forward, you'll hear more about this and what the final determination of the capital committee and the select board is in regards to the request. So whether it would be a new vehicle, whether it be trying to utilize a vehicle the town already has that still is serviceable, or just keeping with the mileage reimbursement. But it's something, we're looking at all the options right now. And this is the first time we've had this request from the building department since I've been here, but obviously, this is the first major change we've had in the department in staffing since I've been here as well. So, I mean,
Yep.
different folks like different processes to use. So, and I think they're all legitimate, and I agree that it's something we need to look at from an economic standpoint.
And
As
just-
well.
Thank you. Go ahead.
just as an opinion, and I did too think about the magnetic, magnetic, but the only thing is whether he wants something magnetic that I had one on my car for my business, and it can, after a while, leave.
Yeah.
And so
Could,
that would be something he'd have to decide whether he wanted. I'm more in favor of
Yeah, I mean,
using
if it was
Yeah.
going on a personal vehicle, you wouldn't want it on all the time. You would
No.
take it off at the end of
On
the
and
day.
off, right.
And then at the beginning of the day, it would be put back on. So
Yeah.
it's.
I mean, it's feasible.
It's feasible, it's not quite as official looking, and it's that little extra task, but it's just a question of, again, looking at what's most economical for the town. And we'll meld that in with the pros and cons operationally
Right.
and make a recommendation to the select board, and ultimately, that's what'll come back before you.
Well, with our concerns with all the money that we don't have, it
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Point
capital
taken.
planning committee will go through that, and we'll get those numbers from you, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks.
Wait, hang on, Mike. Don't go anywhere. Go ahead, Sarah.
So I guess my question is, what is done in other towns similar to Millis as far as, does the building inspector or another inspector have a town car? And then if you guys do decide to put forward this request, would there be some sort of, because he had mentioned identification of the vehicle, would you do some sort of decal? Because I noticed the only other vehicles that have decal are just the specific public works department, like the trucks and stuff.
Yes, if we did get a vehicle, it would be lettered, Town of Millis Inspection Department inspections. As far as what other towns do, I believe it is a mix. The towns I've worked in have usually had the inspector's vehicle and gotten reimbursed for mileage, but there are other towns that have vehicles dedicated to that, and I think Joe has worked in 3 or 4 different towns, so he might want to touch upon that, his experiences, but it is a mix. It depends on the community.
Okay, and I wonder if all the inspectors would be able to use it. For instance, if he's not doing building inspections for one day or the plumber's doing them, would they be able to all use that vehicle?
I would say absolutely. I mean, if the building commissioner didn't need the vehicle for a period of time and one of the sub-inspectors came in to do an inspection in town, they could certainly hop in the vehicle and go do inspections.
So it
in
would
the
stay
vehicle.
on this property, wouldn't go to his house?
That would be the plan, yes.
Go ahead,
I just want to
Kathy.
follow up with
Yeah.
what Ms. Sarah said. So the vehicle will stay here overnight?
Yes.
Okay. And also, I see on your, the form here, it just keeps saying actual on top, not what years they are. And I see that there's a $3,500 reimbursement for auto mileage. Is that for all inspectors?
I
Or
believe
is
so.
it- Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just his.
I believe so. I think
Okay.
I have to look at the numbers again. I don't have them with me, but I
Right.
think the numbers for reimbursements are somewhere in the $2,000 to $3,000 range per year, $2,000 to $3,000 reimbursement.
$3,500,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it would be under that.
So-
What line is that, Kathy?
Excuse me?
What line?
If you look down,
So there's no years on these.
Yeah.
And what's this one down here?
Gotcha. So,
So my
right,
question is, Mr. Chair, if something's $3,500 a year, then you'll see whether, like what Mr. Berube said, if it warrants a $42,000 price tag based on 30. And also, who will maintain this vehicle for repairs and service when it's if not warranty? Is that a DPW?
It would be maintained probably in a similar way to the Council on Aging vehicles. are
Which
maintained.
is, refresh my memory on how that is?
DPW
okay.
pretty much covers all of it, yes.
So we
Yeah.
have to notify the DPW if this vehicle
There'd be
comes, that
some-
there'll be extra
Some
hours.
additional maintenance, yes.
Yeah.
if there's something
allocated.
extra.
Okay. Also, one last question,
Yep.
Mr. Chair. Do these inspectors have badges so that they can just show them? When he says people wander coming on their property, do they have a badge
Yeah.
identifying themselves?
no.
Joe's saying
Good.
no.
Yeah,
He's
so
saying no.
that's something that we're going to be working on. We've
If
had
the
some
selectmen do,
discussions.
then,
Yes, yes.
an inspector should have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want proper
I
identification.
put a line item on
Especially if
for
you're
that.
showing up in a
Out in
non-town
the field,
vehicle.
yeah.
With a
take a
jacket,
look.
I'm sure they all have clothes that identify them. I see yours with yours, so,
And
thank you,
just-
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to the budget, Joe, thank you, Mike. Can you just, the stipends, it looks like the stipends are at 30,000. That hasn't changed, and the subscriptions have gone up quite a bit too. Can you add some color around those two line items?
So, from what I know, the information that was given to me from the town council, saying that the stipends are level funded as far as the stipends go to for the assistant building commissioner, the plumbing and gas inspector, the electrical inspector, all of them have stipends that come along with it. And from what I've been told, it's level funded from the year before.
Okay. Anyone have any other more questions? You good? Okay, so you have a capital request and you have a budget here. Yeah, the annual numbers at the top of the page, Kathy, I noticed that myself. I think we could deduct their years, but it'd be nice to have clarification. on
Well,
that.
there's no town approved, FY '25 town meeting adopted. Some have 4 and some have 5.
Yeah,
Looking at the account, so I might have a separate sheet, but it says actual, the first line, it's actual FY 2021, and 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025.
yeah. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. The FY annual numbers are not on the sheet, that's all.
Oh, mine are on there, so yours must get cut off somehow, the numbers, so. The last one is the, obviously FY '26, and it just goes back from there.
Agreed, yeah, that deductive reasoning,
So
but,
the one before the request would be adopted at town meeting?
Would be the actual, yes.
Actual, okay,
As
Yes.
approved.
as
yeah,
approved.
but it says
okay.
actual.
Yeah, okay,
Not expended, appropriate.
okay.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much for your time tonight. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you. I saw you on Capital Planning Committee, so it's nice to see you again and see you in front of FinCom here.
Nice meeting you.
All right, take care. Okay, moving along to in-person again. Town clerk, come on down. You can sit at the table too if you want to. I know you have a, either one you want.
Deirdre's gonna help.
Yeah, you know what it might be? Okay.
We're not getting sound from the TV.
You know what?
We're getting it from the speaker.
I wonder if this guy's on.
People at TV, they can hear it at home though.
Can they?
Thank you, Jim.
I can't. I had a hard time hearing them,
I know. That's all right. I think
but that's fine, I got
we'll,
it.
we'll just do the rest in person here tonight. All right, perfect.
I'm Kathy Smith, interim town clerk, and Deirdre Gilmore's gonna help me with some slides.
Perfect.
Just gotta talk closer.
So I just
Oh,
have
yeah.
a quick-
Kathy,
Yes.
4 inches from the mic.
There you go. Better?
Nope.
That's not 4 inches. I know your numbers.
You gotta pretend like
All right.
you're singing on a concert song on the
There we go.
stage.
Oh, you
There
don't
we
wanna
go.
hear me sing,
No,
I
we
can
do.
tell you
We
that.
do.
Okay.
All right, let it ring.
All right, so the first slide is just the future of the town clerk's office. There is some questions pending. We don't know if it's gonna be appointed or elected. Right now, we're, I believe at town meeting, Mike Jody and I talked about this, there's going to be a warrant article to try to get it appointed instead of elected. But then it will also have to go to the ballot, so there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the town clerk's office. The budget that Mike Jody and I decided to present to you is the town clerk at a 40-hour-a-week department head and the assistant town clerk at 30 hours, which is an increase of 12.5 hours from last year. We did have Lisa, we no longer have Lisa, so we're missing that extra person in our office. So that's, and then just, Deirdre, if we can go to the election turnout. This is just a summary of what we did last year. We had 4 elections, two town meetings. Obviously, the presidential election was very big for everybody, but those are our numbers for last year.
Can I just ask a question on
Yes,
that?
absolutely.
83% for the presidential election?
Yes.
I would say that's probably normal for a presidential
That is
election?
pretty normal, yes.
Okay.
Willis doesn't vote a lot in annual elections, but presidential, everybody comes out. Yes,
Gotcha.
that's typical, yes, yeah.
And before we, is it all right if we ask questions
Oh,
as you go
absolutely,
along? I think Pete has a
absolutely.
question,
Yeah.
maybe on the last slide or
Yeah,
something like
absolutely.
that.
Quick question, I understand how
Yes.
it's not, that it hasn't been
Yes.
decided, but
Yes.
can you tell us what's the process or what's the authority to make the determination of whether it's appointed or voted? Is it an amendment to charter, bylaws?
It is a charter. It would be an
It
amendment
is.
to a charter, so it would have to be approved at town meeting and on the ballot.
Okay.
Yes, so it's
Yeah.
a charter change, yes, because
And-
right now the charter is elected.
And when you say that there's going to be an article at town meeting, are you indicating that you have knowledge that the select board is proposing one, or is there a citizen's petition?
There is, I'll let Mike speak to that. There is no
Thank you.
citizens petition.
Go ahead, Mike.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So the board hasn't made any formal determination as of yet. This item is actually going to be on their meeting agenda for next Monday. They're going to be discussing this issue on whether or not they intend on putting an article and a ballot question before the voters this May. It would also require an approval of a special act by the legislature signed by the governor. So if anything, if the town meeting and the ballot approved it, it would be sent up to the state. And we anticipate, based on the state's usual timeframe, it would be about a year before we'd have a special act in place and enacted. So no matter what happens, we're going to have an elected clerk for at least most of FY '26, no matter what happens. But the board, the select board will be discussing that next week, so I encourage you to tune in, and I'll certainly keep you informed at your meetings as to where the board stands on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Continue, thank you.
Okay. Any questions on the election turnout? That's pretty just general knowledge.
Yep.
The biggest change in our office is the demand for mail-in ballots. In June of 2022, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 54, Section 25B, was passed, and now anyone in the state, anyone in the town gets a postcard from the state to see if they want a mail-in ballot. Prior, you had to have a reason you worked or a religious reason or anything like that. So now, we currently have 7,032 registered voters, and they all received postcards from the state in 2024 for the elections. You do not need to send them out for a local election. It is just state or federal.
And that comes from the state, you said?
Yes, but if they got the postcard and they check all elections, we have to include the local election. This year, we just have a local election, so they do not have a postcard for this year.
Yep.
Next year for the primary, they will. Next year for the gubernatorial, they will.
Gotcha. So, just to verbalize it, so it's a state law,
Yes,
but we don't have to do it on the local level.
correct. Yes,
Should we,
but
or not?
no, we
Okay.
don't. We're not mandated to do it
We're not
at all.
mandated,
We're not
okay, yeah.
mandated, and no one does it for the local. But in 2024, they sent them out, so we had to send them for the local. If
Yeah.
they check all elections, that means any election,
Oh, I'm with you.
including local.
I'm with you.
Yep. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I missed that last
Well
said.
checkbox.
No, no, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, understood.
Okay, so for the 2024 presidential election, we mailed out 3,325 ballots based on requests from residents. Prior to that, we sent out about 40 to 50, so it's dramatically increased.
Do you know how many you got back, if I may? Excuse me.
Yes, I think it was, because I just did it for
Roughly,
the election
roughly.
grant, 2,500 approximately. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So this is just, in the town clerk mentoring class that I take, this is just, the next slide just shows you what it used to be before 2022 and then after. So this is just, people would come to the polls, they'd mark the ballots, they'd put it in the machine. And then the next, Deirdre, if you could go to the next one. And then the next one is what we have to do to mail them out. It's quite a process, it's quite a lengthy process. We do get reimbursement. I just finished doing some extensive grants.
You knew I were going to ask that
Yes,
question.
Yes, and they will do for mail-in and early voting. we
Okay.
Get money back, not for the actual election, but for time for mail-in ballots and for early voting, we do get grant money back.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and
Gotcha.
I've just completed all those
And-
hundreds of pages.
So does that grant money cover not only the material, but also the hours?
It covers
employee
a
hours?
portion of everything, not everything. It covers a portion of it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So the next one, just a little bit quickly, we plan to increase civic involvement. We want to go over to the high school and get the kids who turn 18 kind of involved.
Yeah.
And we've also had lots of requests to create some educational material for the seniors, to bring sample ballots down, to explain When we mail, we can't physically hand a ballot to someone, we have to mail it to them, but they can physically bring it back to us. That's very confusing for some people. We've also done school tours where kids come over and learn about civics, so that's kind of fun, the elementary kids. And just kind of streamline some information, improve our website, just kind of make sure people feel very knowledgeable about the elections and the election process.
So, sorry
That's
to
okay.
keep
No,
interrupting
please.
you. So that effort, kind of a campaign effort, is to get younger voters
And
involved?
inform
Because doesn't the
our seniors.
census automatically log you in as a voter or not?
You have to register to vote, no.
You do?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. When you're 18, you have to register, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to register, everyone has to register. So you have to come into the, or you can do it online now, which is nice. For the younger people, they love to do everything online.
Full disclosure, I have two 18-year-olds,
Yeah.
so that's why I was
Yes.
asking.
They can go online, mass.gov. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, so Deirdre, the next slide is the mentoring classes. Sue and I have taken some of the mentoring classes, and it's wonderful. They've helped us with the conferences. So while navigating all the changes, not just having our election warden of 20 years, Chris McCaffrey, retired, and then Lisa retired. So there's been a lot of changes in our office
Yep.
with elections. So we've done these classes. They help us with election procedure, advanced deposit and removal, and staying up to date with all laws, so we hope to continue these classes. The next thing we hope to do is to enhance office filing. That's the next one, Deirdre. We currently hold all planning, all zoning, all decisions, approvals, plans, and unfortunately, some of our things are by street, some of them are by year, some of them are by gas station, office building. So if we ever had enough time, we'd like to improve that filing system for the next group that comes in when Sue and I are gone. Because it's very confusing. It's very confusing.
Is there a database system out there? Because I know Capital Planning Committee was going through the same process and leveraging ClearGov. I don't know if they or others have something like
There's
that.
something that Camille and I have talked a lot about. It's something that will update all the zoning bylaws and the general bylaws, the chapter. After a town meeting, we just send them and they update that. Because believe it or not, when Camille and I try to update, it's like 1980 version of Word that
Yeah.
we're trying to edit, and it's difficult, but it is expensive. So we're working with Jim Donovan IT to try to get something that's a little bit easier for us to try to maneuver, taking a PDF and putting it into Word so we can add the new zoning bylaws, the new MBTA bylaw. There's a lot of stuff that gets added every year
Yeah.
after a town meeting.
Mr.
Of
Chair.
course. Go ahead, Kathy.
I just like to mention that the clerk's office is the legal and official keeper of all records in
Yes.
town.
Yes.
So we should have an ear towards supporting them computerizing.
There's a lot
Because
of
if you
paper.
see the plans from the planning board,
Yeah.
zoning board,
Yeah.
it's not just births and
No,
deaths,
it's not.
it's
a lot of-
massive,
yes,
so,
Yeah.
it is. We have a lot of paper.
yeah.
And hopefully we can get to more of a hybrid model
Yes.
of digital
Yes.
and less
Right.
paper. Yep, I follow you.
The next item is just election staff education and training. We want to kind of optimize our election staff signups, get everyone's email. We, believe it or not, sometimes still do it archaically and send out a letter saying this is when you're going to work and this is what you're going to do. And we'd also like to just kind of teach our staff and help our staff with the mail-in ballot procedures. We had a lot of safety training this year because it was a controversial election, presidential election, tally, and poll pad training. So our election workers do a lot, and sometimes they only come in once a year, sometimes twice a year. So we really need to bring them back every year and kind of educate them, talk about the election, talk about different things. And then highlight election and volunteer opportunities for the community. And the last one is just everyone's talking about just the potential impact for the increased population if a lot of these new developments happen. And I'm still working with the state on this, but if we go over a certain amount, over 10,000, I don't know if we have to add another precinct. We only re-precinct every 10 years, but if we go over that, we would have to have we would either have to move the election to a bigger gym, the high school gym, add another precinct. Actually, precinct 3 has increased dramatically. That's Regency Place. We've had lots of new residents, so that's our biggest precinct right now. We had to add additional election staff for that precinct alone because it's so busy. And just as the town grows, we grow too. That's like every other department in town. Yeah, so
Fair
that's
statement.
all I have. And I don't know if you have any questions with the budget.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
So-
go ahead,
Sorry
Kathy.
to keep being bothersome.
Yeah,
No,
that's
not
fine.
at all. That's what I'm here for.
Something that's piqued my,
Yes,
for many years, are the town meeting voter clickers.
yes.
Does that come under your jurisdiction or the
does.
moderator?
Well, that's a good question. I would assume it would be us.
Okay,
I did speak with Stephanie and Medway. They just got them.
exactly, that's
They
what I
love
heard.
them.
Yep.
I did reach out to, I think it's Meridian, who has them. Sue and I went to a conference, and they were there. They were one of the vendors, so we talked to them. We have all the information. I'd love to have them, because it just it cuts town meeting down dramatically if you have a standing count, Especially, there's a possibility of the high school, coming up in the next few, I don't know how long.
Fall.
In the next, yeah. So that would be it, and that, people don't, I know some people feel uncomfortable standing up if their neighbor is for it and they're against it, and the clickers, no
They
one knows
just
how you
don't show
vote. You
up.
just click, right, you just click. And so I would love to get them. We've done a lot of research on them, but
A lot of
I-
people don't want it, Mr. Chair, not to interrupt,
Yeah, go
because of
ahead.
that same,
Yes,
that you can
right,
be
they
more
want it-
anonymous
The old
than-
New England, you have
Right,
to get up and,
yeah.
and
When you were
stand your
dealing,
ground.
through the chair, when you were
Yeah.
dealing with Meridian and speaking with them, did you get a cost of $1 per
It
100 people, or?
It's about $5,000, and then they would come to the first election. But again, we only usually have about 200 people, but sometimes if it's what we want it for and what we'll use it for is like a school or a police
Yeah.
station or something like that, you could have up to 600, 700, 800 people show up. So Stephanie has it in Medway, Dottie has it in Westwood. So I'm just kind of learning about them, but I would love to have that because I think it would cut down on people questioning.
And could you
did
actually
they count right?
explain
Did
what
they
the clickers are? Because I'm
Thank
thinking of
you.
like someone at the door clicking, but you're saying
No.
the voters
The
have
The
it.
voters have them. It's
So how
on
does
like a
that
little-
work?
It's on like a little wristlet, and it's connected to.
When your order's ready for pickup at
Yeah,
the restaurant?
Right. So it will say, warrant article number 11, this is that. Oh. Yes.
Everybody comes in, they register, you get whether it's identified to you, and then you vote by clicking yes or no on a particular item. So
And then it shows up on the screen in front. Like
I
it's
see, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I follow you.
Yeah.
And how did Mr. Crone find it?
Did you find, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's what I was gonna ask.
So if you run into a situation where you think it's going to be 500, you can rent them, or if it's going to have less, you can have them.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah,
borrow
would-
them from Westwood or Medway?
Medway would have.
I'm
four-
cheap, listen, I am cheap.
So would renting, obviously, I would think the cost would be a lot less than buying them?
It would be a lot less. We
Maybe
would
more
still have to have
logistics.
someone from the company
Of
come and
course.
set everything up and do
Yeah.
everything. But yes, I've
Interesting.
been looking into it. I don't have a definite cost or an amount yet, but
You
I
got,
think it
you
would
got till
be-
November.
I know. But I think people would feel more comfortable with the vote.
Yeah.
Instead of having, in a dark auditorium trying to, because people stand up, they sit down, they go talk to their neighbor, they go, so it
Yeah.
would be, I think, more accurate.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
once again, I'm just wondering if could this be researched for this town meeting vote?
In May,
Right, to approve this for your budget, to have something like this?
I can try.
I'm just, this is a
You're
view of the
asking.
board.
Yeah.
That, because I can appreciate that as a town clerk, you have a good rapport with other town clerks. And I know that for a fact because
Yes.
I know a few people I went to school with that are town clerks, and
Yes.
they know you all very
Yes,
well.
yes, I-
And if you're supporting something like this, Kathy, then I think that the town should rally behind it,
I can definitely do some
if
work.
feasible.
Yeah.
Yes,
Take a look at it, go through the process with them, Dottie has their well
Mhm.
And I think then take a look through everything, we can show you exactly what it is and so forth. Because I don't think
Mhm.
fall town meeting, that would be the one I think that would,
Right. I agree. And I am going to a mentoring class with Dottie in 2 weeks, so I can definitely
But
pick her
y-
brain.
You don't have it in your budget here. I'm looking at your
I don't,
narrative.
because I don't have enough data to present. I don't have a quote yet.
I wonder if there's like a plug-in number you could use, though.
I can
Exactly,
try.
yeah.
I mean, it
can
just
try.
might be worth it, just because with the school building vote coming up in November, obviously, that's a big vote.
How would you budget it now for something in November?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Pete.
Was there any discussion along these lines, this discussion we're having, when you presented your budget to the select board?
No, I did not mention.
Then it's-
It's in my,
It was in your
it's in
notes,
my
yeah.
future things that we hope to do.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but
The
no.
reason I ask is
Yeah.
because it's up to them. It's up to
Correct.
them to put it on the
Correct.
budget.
Okay.
We can talk about it all we want, and I'm sure we'll mention it to them at a tri board or something.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair, you could, the Finance Committee could make a motion and and recommend that the,
Right, and recommend.
that the board, the select board, research this, so.
And then finally,
Go ahead.
I mean, I guess I think it's worth saying,
Yeah.
that there's no silver bullet to, I agree that it's probably worth saving some time and an effective solution. I have no idea, first I hear this. I will say that there will be controversy around it. You're changing how elections are done. If you pay any attention at all to the public forum, there is a wild amount of mistrust between proponents and opponents to the school. This would
Right.
be a change, and the conspiracy theories will run amok.
True, true.
So it's probably, that
I
said,
don't
it's
see
probably
that.
smart to talk about this now, not just on the lead up to
Yeah.
the fall
The
town
fall
meeting.
town meeting.
And do it very much out in the
Openly,
open.
right. And I can tell you that town clerks that I have spoken to, they said it's fabulous.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
It's
I know,
fabulous. Like,
yeah.
I've.
For years.
No one has said, it didn't work
I
out,
wish
I
we
didn't
didn't
like
have
it.
it.
Everyone's like, oh my gosh, it changed town meeting.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard any negative feedback regarding the
Okay.
figures at all.
Yeah, no, it's,
Thank you.
we'll
you.
follow with select board, but I think that'd be phenomenal for the fall. And if we can do something ahead of time, that'd be great. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
Sue Vara, 115 Forest Road. I just want to mention, I work with Kathy at the town clerk's office, and I think this year particularly, because the budget is, we have to include all sorts of different scenarios, we were hesitant to ask for anything more capital, because we're trying to navigate the course right now, and just, so we were hesitant to bring up the clickers.
Understood. Yeah, no, I
Yep.
completely understand.
I wasn't.
The, yeah, understood. Thank you for mentioning that, but it's an important thing, I think.
It is.
If
and
we didn't have any big items coming down the line, then it'd be a different
If-
story, but.
Right, the only thing that we foresee that could be a lot is if we have to have another precinct. That would be another voting machine, that would be another 2 poll pads, that would be, in excess of $7,000 to $10,000 if we have to add another precinct, based on population and growth. We're
But
hoping.
that might not be for at least 2 fiscal years, maybe
We're hoping,
more.
yeah, we're hoping,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Actually, one of my questions was gonna be,
Hang on, Mike. Sarah's, go ahead, Sarah.
sorry, one of my questions was actually gonna be that if we do have to add additional voting machines or another precinct, is there also another grant that you could obtain from the
Yes.
state to be able to
Yes,
do that?
Yes, I'm becoming quite knowledgeable about these grants and filling out the hundreds of forms that are required. So, yes, I would definitely, I'll fill out any paperwork to get the grants,
Okay,
yes.
So
I
there
would
is
definitely-
one, there is
There
is
would be,
available.
yes,
Okay,
it could be
perfect.
used for early, yes. Yep, durable equipment, yes. I
Great.
could fill out a durable equipment grant.
I did have one more question for
Sure,
you.
absolutely.
Actually, just also the other grant that you were asking for reimbursement for the mail-in voting, is that state or federal?
I had just finished the grants for last September.
Yeah, right.
And last November.
Yep.
We don't know how much money we're going to get. Those are grants that we have requested. They only refund early voting costs and mail-in ballots, percentage of mail-in ballots.
Okay.
State.
Yes.
The
But
state
it's at a
vote.
state level, not a
State.
federal
Okay.
level.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Perfect, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pete Underhill
Yeah.
keeps putting his.
Okay, hang on, Pete. Mike Crone, do you have a question? Okay, Pete Underhill, do you have a question? Yep.
Would you check to see if the moderator, I think they have no.
They have what?
They have what?
To see if that's something you can consider.
That's a fair statement. So check in with the moderators, is what you're saying, Pete?
Yes. No, that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Kathy confirms that,
Yeah, that's
correct.
correct. Yeah.
Great point, thank you, Pete.
I can email Brutus, I can reach out to Brutus.
That'd be great, yeah. Okay.
Just tell them what you want.
Do you have anything specific going through your,
Just that.
Line budget items?
Mike, Jody, and I talked about, we kept the stipend in for an elected clerk.
yeah,
That's just because we just really don't know what's going to happen. We really don't know, I don't know if you want to speak to it, or? Okay.
Yes, I mean, there's, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of what-ifs coming forward in the next year regarding the town clerk's office. So in speaking with both Kathy and Jody, our finance director, about this, we wanted to include in the proper funding for the different possible scenarios. And certainly, you know, depending on what scenario occurs, any unused funding will just end up going back into the town's free cash later. But it's been a tough budget for them because of that uncertainty this year.
totally agree.
And I just wanted to use that opportunity to, you know, thank Kathy and Sue for their hard work, especially since last August, when there was a big change in the office.
Yep.
Only a few months before the big town election and town meeting, they stepped up and they performed very well in their service to the community. So I just want to take a moment to thank them for that. That was outstanding
Great.
work they did in jumping into the breach in that situation. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, also, I believe you have some staff that works off their tax dollars?
Yes, we have
So-
two, Pat Diatlevy and Bonnie
Right,
Hilton.
okay.
Yes.
Appreciate that
Yes.
the town has that available
Yes.
to them to fill in when people are getting
They're very
inundated with
valuable.
work and
Yes,
stuff, so.
Yes, they're very valuable to our
Thank
office,
you.
absolutely.
Go ahead, Pete.
One question. Can you, where is the elected stipend in the budget?
The
Is it
top, the
the
top
12
one.
12
For
four?
12,000, yeah.
The
Yep,
12,720?
I'm getting old, I gotta put my reading glasses
No
on.
problem,
Yep.
no.
Yes, the top stipend,
I see
oh,
it.
it says for overtime, it should
Yeah,
say,
okay.
that's a typo. It
Yeah.
should be for town clerk, for elected town clerk.
So it seems like, Mr. Chair, that if you took your added hours, it would still come to the total, less than the total of what the elected clerk would receive.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Just looking through, I don't have any specific questions. I've
I
gone
put the
through a
little
few.
comment more for me.
Yep.
To help you, but to help me.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Just give us a second here, just because there's a couple pages, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I looked at it before. I don't have anything specific. You answered a lot of it with your presentation. Does anyone else have any further questions? Zoom land? I think everyone looks good there. All right.
Done.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you
I
very
will-
much for all your efforts.
Thank you.
No question.
I will look into the
Clickers.
clickers, town meeting
We
clickers.
used one to train our dog.
Yeah, it's got a versatile meaning. You got to be careful what clicker we get.
No. Our Boston accent.
Clicker.
Okay.
Come on down, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
How we doing tonight? Good.
I'll let you know in 45 minutes.
If you can do
So,
it in 30.
I think Deirdre sent out two. What did you say?
What do you say, Mike?
25
25
minutes.
minutes.
That's what I thought.
Don't make me mute you, Mike. All right, go ahead, Jim.
So I think Deirdre sent out two budgets. One was just a breakdown that she just sent out today, and I believe you have the whole budget from, I think that was sent out during the week, right?
Yeah, we got the 37-page budget.
Right, so let's go through the 6-page one,
Ooh.
and I think that we'll get most of your questions and
6-page
answers
one?
from that, yes.
Okay. For FinCom at home, it's, I don't know if you can see this, it's a handout here, so you just might have to watch us go through it. Oh, actually, no, Deidre has it. I apologize, Deidre. Go ahead.
I mean, the main reason is the DPW budget right now is still, it's a very up-in-the-air type budget this year. Nothing's really been decided, and I think when we get to the last 2 pages, you'll understand exactly more of what I'm talking about. But so we can start with the general DPW fund. You know, the accomplishments, you know, the paving that we did last year, it's listed, and that was in the amount of over $623,000 plus. Pretty impressed with that amount of work that was done and what we've got done in the past several years, and that was done by, you know, town meeting appropriations. Without that, none of this would get done. I mean, we'd be so far behind. We still can't survive on paving with $272,000 from the state. That's all we get from them each year, and that wouldn't do one road now. The second, we received, working with Mr. Weiss, we received a complete street grant, and we, as part of our bid for paving, we replaced the sidewalks on Plain Street and replaced all the detectable pads on Route 109. I think most people can see that they're all been ripped up already from the sidewalk plows and everything else like that. The contractor will come back and fix them, you know, this spring. So
Okay.
he knows he has to fix that. That, you know, the replacement of the detectable pads, that's been something for many years has been asked for by residents of Millis to be put in. When the Route 109 was done back in the early 2000s, they weren't, you know, required to have them in place.
These are the yellow bumpy
Yeah.
pads at the
Yes.
curb? Yep.
I mean, every intersection had the proper handicapped accessibility for wheelchairs and walkers and stuff like that, but they did not have to put those yellow pads in.
Mm-hmm.
As John told you earlier, if you look out front at the town hall, there's 8 new flagpoles that are up there, and they depict every service. And John paid for them. That was money that he was talking about that was left over from his budget, and John went out and purchased those flagpoles, and the DPW staff installed those poles.
Nice.
And a big thing, I mean, for the people that use the transfer station, I think one can see the big change down at the DPW yard is the salt shed. And that was all done, rebuilt from the inside out by DPW workers. And it saved tens, if not, you know, $100,000 of work that was done. And we used leftover money from snow and ice from last year at a nominal fee. I think it was less than $20,000. So getting into the budget, we have no idea yet. There's a lot of contracts in the pipeline, hopefully to be ratified within the next week or two. And until that's ratified, we don't know. You know, the DPW director's position is under the personnel plan. The secretarial staff and positions in the DPW office are under SEIU, and everything else falls under the ASME contract. And all 3 of them, you know, they're close to being, you know, approved, so you'll find out what those amounts, and that's when everything will change in that part of it. And what I put further discussion at the end of the presentation, you'll see that on all of them, and we'll talk about that at the end. So, you know, we've heard a lot of discussion of you know, what's coming, and you know, Millis is, you know, still gonna be blown up, and, you know, we're still all this stuff. I've been on the planning board for approximately 18 years now, and I've never seen it so slow as it is now. So everything that is being discussed is more on a 40B type situation, going through the ZBA. And they may be a larger proportion of stuff, you know, that's going to be built, and will bring in more people. But I can tell you that, you know, the DPW is pretty much the gatekeeper of knowing what's going to be built in Millis, because the first stop that they have to go to is there enough water and is there enough sewer? If that's what the, you know, the developer chooses. A developer can choose he can, you know, put in septic systems for the homes, he can put in a package treatment plant, but anything that's come to Millis since I've been on the planning board, other than maybe one development, and was because we had sewer. The availability of sewer was there. When we get into the sewer budget, I'm going to explain to you that's all going to slow down. And I'll give you the reason when we get to the sewer budget. It's not good news at all for the rest of what the sewer capacity that the town of Millis has. So I'll explain that when we get to that. So what am I doing? Next is the transfer station. Again, the same with the transfer station, waiting on until the contract gets settled. Expenses did increase $14,000, and that's just overall gas prices have gone up, electricity around the transfer station. You can see that in the budget. I highlighted everything in red that I'm asking, for it to go up. That's the same in the DPW budget. If you look at that, you'll see everything is highlighted in red that I'm requesting an increase for that. And most of it is just, parts for the mechanics have gone up. Anything asphalt products have gone up. Everything that, we purchase has gone up. And I did put in there, let me go back to the general fund, and take my glasses off, I'm going to read it. So when I was talking about, in FY '25, the actual budget that was spent for the DPW budget back in 2015 was $609,231. The town meeting adopted last year was $798,473. If you look at that over a 10-year span with increases of salaries and stuff like that, to me, the DPW, and if you look at all the other budgets, has not kept up with, the growth of Millis. We talk about, Millis went from, and I can tell you almost we went from 7,800 people to today over 9,000, I think 25. That's something, the numbers that we report now. If you look at every other budget, the major budgets in the town, and actually look at any budget that's put forward, and you can look on your own line, you look through your own books. If you go back to 2015 and look at 2025, I think you're going to see that, the DPW has been left in the rearview mirror with the growth of Millis. Because that's what I'm trying to tell you is I think the growth is here, and the largest growth is we're there. We're pretty much there. Unless people change how they're going to come and build in Millis. So I meant to bring that as up in the general fund discussion. The revenues received at the transfer station. Let's remember that the transfer station is not free by any means. The transfer station is not free. We all pay for stickers that use it. We pay for bags to throw the trash away. If we want to get rid of a couch, we pay for a certain amount for that. And that revenue that was brought in is $99,284.15. That was in FY '24. FY '25 that we're in now, we're actually at this point from '24 to '25, we're at $22,000. Because most of the people that are moving into, believe it or not, into the Glen Ellen and Acorn Place, they all had transfer stations. They came from towns that they had transfer stations. And they're still purchasing that sticker because they like the idea of being able to get rid of whatever they want on, whether it's Wednesdays and Saturdays. And that the transfer station, last year we received a grant in the amount of $3,500.
So do you think that revenue will decline based on slowing
No, I think
residents coming in?
I mean, I don't know how many of you have trash pickup at your house, but I think you know how much that costs, and that keeps on going up.
It does.
Transfer station prices haven't gone up in, a nominal fee. I think in the last maybe 8 years, we've gone up for a second sticker from $5 to $10. The price of the bags, I think, went up a quarter in that time. The actual cost for a sticker for seniors is $35, 62 and over, and 62 and below, it's $95. So I've always said it's the best deal in Millis, and I think people are finally starting to catch on. It's just the idea of the availability of the times to get there.
Yeah.
The transfer station was open, used to be open. Kathy, you can probably know it was at 7 days or 5. I don't, But when I came here, it was right after, there was cuts in the transfer station was the first thing that was cut. And it was cut down from whatever it was to the two, it was actually 1.5 day.
Yeah.
And in that time, we've actually opened it up, all day Wednesday and all day
Wednesday.
Saturday.
Gotcha.
Look it out.
Yep.
Look it up, because it's, right now, when you're gonna have to pay a lot more to get rid of a couch than if you have a hauler who probably won't even take it. At the transfer station, you pay $25, for a box spring and mattress, $25, whatever. Everything's $25. So the transfer station, I see it keeping growing
Okay.
as time goes on.
Go ahead, Joyce. Joyce has a question.
Could the revenue that you receive allow the transfer station to be open an additional day?
So right now, those funds actually offset the cost of the operation today. So it actually, the town does, because of the way the stickers are sold, it always lopsides. One month, you're buying the stickers in June for the next year, for the next fiscal year, and so on and so on. But to operate the transfer station, I believe it's in the 120s. So the town does, so this just helps to offset the cost of what it is, because we don't offer trash pickup.
Has that ever been visited, trash pickup, so that the town could actually make money?
You won't make money. You'll never
No.
make money on it.
No?
And if you think your complaints about stormwater bills, because
You know
we're gonna have
what's-
to pay for it. Our taxes will have to pay for it, whether it be on your water bill, your transfer station.
So when you, sorry to interrupt, so when you look at surrounding towns, they factor that into their taxes, the
No,
trash
they-
pickup?
No, they.
As a town pickup,
As a
though?
fee.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a separate fee to pay for it.
Gotcha.
But why couldn't we, I mean, there are so many different trash companies that come into this town. Why couldn't we, as a town, have our own trash pickup where the people paid, those who wanted it could pay for the trash pickup. Those who wanted to go to the transfer station still got their stickers, but there'd be that opportunity for trash pickup for town.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work
Okay.
out that way. The only reason why it doesn't work out that way, you either give them the blanket policy for every house, and everybody pays that, and whether you go to the transfer station, I can use Medway as an example.
Yeah.
Medway, they have trash pickup, and they also pay for the bags and stuff like that that are picked up outside their property, but they get a free ticket to the transfer station.
And
For
does
3
that
years.
work for them or not?
Well, they have issues, but that's, with the landfill. I think the transfer station's closing, but it does, for us, we don't have the staff that was going to manage it, because you're talking another full-time person that will have to manage this, because if somebody, cart gets blown away, somebody's going to have to bring it out. That's not all done by the company.
So for.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. So for
And-
Millis, the numbers don't necessarily make
Right,
sense that you've
right.
probably seen. Pete, did you have a question?
I do. Mr. Cronin had his hand up.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Mike Crone, go ahead.
Can I do that?
Jim, shouldn't the transfer station be self-funded though? Isn't we were getting the fees associated with it is actually self-funded?
So that's been a question that's been brought forth to the select board, and each year, if you just go up in the price of it, you're gonna lose, many people won't use it. And where we don't offer, I mean, there's nothing that we offer. I don't know of any transfer stations that make this much money to offset the costs for residents. Right now, we have, I think there's almost 500 families, homes use the transfer station. And the offset cost of it, I'd have to look at my book. I don't know if
Yeah.
what the actual cost of the transfer station
That's
is.
right. Is it in the big presentation?
Yep.
That one.
But that being said, given the fact that the fee rate is so low with the transfer station, that even if you increase a little bit more than the self-funding, it still would be a viable option.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, good point. Is there, you're looking at the transfer station on
Yeah, so the
page
overall cost, I
17?
believe, with the fees and the salary that's in there, and don't forget, this employee only works there, I mean, most
Yeah.
of the time he's working in the DPW.
Yeah.
The total over, cost of it is $270,266.75. And that's, you know what, that's
That's a-
incorrect, timeout.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
made a mistake.
Yeah, I
put
see,
that-
I see the mistake.
You know,
Please
and
clarify.
You got the wrong, if
Yeah.
it says 95,000 for fuel, it's supposed to be 9,500.
Okay.
So take that
Okay,
and lower it all down
Yes.
to almost that 168.
gotcha.
Yep.
That still would be doubling,
On the diesel fuel, Mike?
no, on all of it.
So I'd say 168, 536, and last year we brought in 99, almost 100,000. So it's $68,000 that the town.
Hang on. Yeah, go ahead, Pete. Yeah.
Does that cost only include the fuel and the personnel? Does it include all the dumping?
Yes.
So everything that gets dropped off there includes the disposal all the way to the end of the waste stream?
That's correct.
I'm kind of looking at it the same way that Mr. Crone is, in the sense that if that's a viable operation, it ought to be self-sufficient. And if it's not, then it's being subsidized by taxpayers that don't use it. And that's a similar argument that we've used, or that we've heard in this committee about water enterprise, sewer enterprise, that these activities, the rec fund, different activities, the ambulance fund, ought to be self-sufficient. And I think there's merit in looking at it and closing the gap. Maybe you don't get to 100%, but closing the gap seems like the more fair thing to do.
So I guess the only way, Mr. Berube, that I could answer that question is that you have the right to purchase a sticker at the transfer station.
Yep.
You choose not to. You choose to, you have a private hauler. If you want to make it, the price of it unattainable for seniors, because the seniors are the most that use the transfer station, then,
Well, you're
That's
putting
something
words in
we'll-
my mouth that I object to. I would never say that I'm trying to make it unattainable for a senior.
no, I said
am
that was
saying-
my, no, I said that was
Hang on,
my
hang on,
opinion,
hang
sir.
on, hang on.
That was my
Yeah.
opinion, sir, that's
No,
what,
no, you said I said
Hang on,
that,
Pete,
and I
Pete,
did not say
Pete,
that.
Pete, Pete.
Nor would I.
forget him. Okay, go ahead.
So, understood. So you
I
have the
said
option.
that, Mr. Chair, what, if I owe Mr. Berube an apology,
You
it
don't.
was that I was stating that if that's going to make it unattainable for seniors, then so be it. Then let's do it.
Yeah. Did you say earlier, there's 500 households that use the transfer station, roughly?
Yep, roughly.
And of that number, do we know what percentage of seniors that number is?
It's far.
Like 400
I'll
out of
get you that.
500?
I'll get you that.
Okay.
Over half.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
What does it, I apologize, my husband
ahead.
gets, he
Yep.
uses it, and he buys the sticker. We also have trash pickup,
Yep.
because it's very, who we use is extremely affordable. What does the sticker cost?
$35.
And is that for the general public, or is that for the senior?
That's for seniors,
And what does the general public?
95.
Okay.
And it might be off $5 on that.
And that's
on
a
both of them.
year?
That's for a year.
For a year, yeah. Plus
And the
bags.
bags
Any
cost?
bag for a large bag is $1.75. For a smaller bag that most seniors use is $1.25.
Do we have an idea with that, say it's the $90?
Mm-hmm.
Because, and the price of the bags, do you know about how much an average household is spending? If it's
No.
the $90 plus the bags?
No, we don't, because the bags are bought at Roach Brothers and a couple of other.
Okay.
It depends on each household
Outlets.
and the
Yep.
amount of
No,
disposal.
right, I just wondered if there was, any documentation of how much, if it was as much as having a trash pickup or
Yeah.
not.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
thank you. Go ahead.
So the next is the Water Enterprise Fund.
Yep.
So the accomplishments is the DPW has secured 2 funding sources to offset the project cost of $7.1 million for the new PFAS treatment plant located at well number 3. The first grant is from the federal government in the amount of $3.5 million. The second is a 0% interest from SRF loan from the Mass DEP in the amount of $3.6 million. And just this past Monday, we received a $100,000 ARPA grant fund for the construction of well number 3. Now, I know that everybody's questions, these are all federal, all this is federal money. And I can guarantee you that through the process, through this time, I check constantly of what is available, is it been taken, is it not available? And all 3 of them, as of today, I'm being assured that they are there. I mean, the only reason why I can believe that that's actually there is because the town administrator just signed on Monday,
Yeah.
the ARPA grant from the state
Of
for
100.
the $100,000 that I applied for.
So the total cost is 7.1, and these 2 grants, 3 grants, are covering the entire cost?
Well, I mean, we're still gonna have to pay the amount of the 3.6 million, just not the interest on it.
Yeah, true. Gotcha. That's great. Sarah?
Jim, is that from, like, so these grants, the federal grants, what department are they from? Are they part of like the EPA, or how do they?
Yes, the first one is an EPA grant that was actually given to us and assured to the town many years ago through Congressman Auchincloss, but we lost that funding because the first PFAS plant was not built under the Buy Back America. Everything had to be American-made and everything else for the project. And we were already too far. The project had been bid, and we were actually in construction when we found out that we received that grant. So hounding them and constantly sending follow-up emails and reapplying for this. Both of these, the 2 large grants were sustained and were given to us because we're building another PFAS plant. And it will be, Buy Back America, Build Back America, everything will be American-made in the plant.
And I'm sorry, just to clarify, have you gotten any part of the
None of
grant
it,
yet?
no.
Nothing,
Everything we have to submit.
right?
So the town meeting approved the 7.1 million plus the additional 360-something thousand for contingency plan, contingency money. And we're just starting, we broke ground last week. The Concom approved, so we got the go-ahead, so the actual construction will start this Tuesday. They'll start clearing. So we're gonna find out, because
Where are you even sending it at this point?
we still have contacts
Oh,
from
good.
the state, that they're both working. I still have emailed them constantly. And I guess we could talk about, I mean, that's the same as Route 109 with, we finally signed a contract for that also. And the state, the only difference between that is we won't pay for that. They'll pay for that. That's their contractor. They'll come in and they'll pave it, and it's not a reimbursement situation with that. And I received an email, with a follow-up I sent last week, because I knew it was coming here, and I figured somebody would ask the question. And the response that I received from the state was that we're on the 25 list, and we're on the early projection for it to be paved. That's all he said.
Did you mention earlier in another meeting, maybe this summer or not? Or
Yes.
what's the timeline?
Well,
Is that-
it's supposed to be May or June,
May or
because
June,
if it's in FY '25, it's gotta be
Yeah.
done by June 30th.
Gotcha, yep. Go ahead, Joyce.
Some of the departments have mentioned that with our population increasing, that, say 10,000, if we reach 10,000, go over the 10,000, there's more available grant money available to the town. Is that true for the DPW as well? If our population reaches the 10,000?
No.
Would we, no?
No, I can tell you that everything will change if we hit that 10,000 mark. In testing, reporting, And
So
I think
for
at the
the
10,000, I think that's for almost pretty much everybody. I think that, once you go over that 10,000,
Right.
and as we're close, and with development that we see, we're gonna be there, we will hit the 10,000, but how more do we go over that? And then, like I said, it's a game changer, that's,
What kind of impact does it make on, I know that for some departments, the 10,000 or more is a benefit because of the grant monies that they could, what kind of impact would having the 10,000 be to the DPW? I know we need another worker, that's a given, but what other impacts would there be?
so, with the general fund, really no change whatsoever. The transfer station, really nothing with that. With water, sewer, and stormwater, it's the reporting requirements will go, because
More
again,
work.
it's more work, it's more testing of the wells, it's more testing in the system, it's more reporting on stormwater, and like I said, with the sewer, I'll get to that next, of what's
Yeah.
already being forced on us. So,
Do you want to go right into that sewer then?
so we done here, so
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry, Mike, I saw your hand. Go ahead, Mike Crone.
Jim, I just wanted to also give a lot of credit to you, DPW, for all of the work you've done in the last few years on PFAS eradication. We were at the forefront of that in many towns. You secured a lot of grants, significant grants. You produced the first filtration system on time and within or under budget for NOAA. And I know you worked really hard with respect to the upcoming PFAS filtration system. So this is not small project for a small town. And I think you've done a great job and you do. So I just want to thank you for all of that. I want to give you credit for that.
thank you, I appreciate that, and it's this board, the select board, that when I first, Kathy asked me about this, again, Monday. We talked about this on Monday, and when I first started out in this business, I was an engineer I used to work for at the Boston Water and Sewer. He used to, when I was in charge at night, he would walk by and he'd say, "Hey, here, kid, read this." And in there, and we're talking almost 18, 19 years ago, that it was, PFAS it's coming. And this forever chemicals, and if you can, I still can't say, read any of the names of them, and I never will, but it's how why they're regulating us. And in the general industry is not being anywhere near regulated in the clothes that we wear, the cooking utensils that we have. But you're gonna regulate, a drop of water in 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And you're gonna regulate, if the EPA regulation moves forward, hopefully it won't, at their 4 parts per trillion. I think I told you this the last time.
And what is it now, Jim, just
It's
to let
20.
the board?
The
20.
Mass DEP regulation
And
is
they wanna
20
lower
parts
it
per
to
trillion.
4.
And they want to lower it to 4 parts per trillion.
But our PFAS plants that we're building will accept the 4%.
Correct.
So
The
we're
two- the
safe
two.
regardless.
For them, but that means the other 3, they're offline.
Right.
And that was never in the mix at the beginning of all of this. It was never discussed. And if this is $7 million, and if this 4.4 parts per trillion goes in, there's a lot more people are gonna be in the same situation that we're in.
Yeah,
And then the cost of it's gonna go up.
and not to blow this
Exponentially.
out even further, but I would imagine other towns are scrambling to
They are.
try to get their PFAS plants.
Yeah.
And they
Mr.
might not have
Chair-
the same opportunity as grants that Mills has, because
Yep.
they weren't the first.
And there,
Yeah.
a lot of towns are now being forced, Mr. Kaczynski probably knows, into MWRA, which is like having almost a $50 million entrance fee. Plus, you've got to get your debris to their pipes.
Yep.
So, well done.
Yeah.
We might not have done a lot of right things in this town.
All right, let's move on to sewer.
Okay, just to let me finish up with the revenues received for the water is $65,368. That's just extra revenue that it's still built into the rates to keep the rates down. That's for tie-in fees. And I think that why I'd like to give you this number, I think once you start to see that number dropping, you know the construction's dropping, just like building permits and stuff like that. Because the first stop that anybody has to go when they come and they want to get a foundation permit is to the water department to get, if there's water in the vicinity, is to buy they'll have to get their tie-in fee for that.
Go ahead, Pete.
Could you clarify that? What
Sure.
what revenue does this 65,368 represent?
Sure, so it's, you're building a new home in Millis, and it's not serviced by water at that time that you're constructing it. You come in and you pull out a water permit, and the cost of that is $2,095 and $137.50 for the meter. And that's what that amount is, and that was in 2000. So every building that was built in Toll Brothers, every separate condo, every one of them paid, and, that's part of their
Yeah,
iffy.
I'm asking for clarification because the revenue that the water enterprise brings in is significantly more than
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
65,000. And I just,
Yep,
Yep.
just want that to be clear,
Yep.
that this is just a portion for tie-ins, essentially.
that's all it is.
Yep.
It's just tie-ins.
And Mr. Chair, I've
Yep.
I've sort of argued with Jim once in a while about some
No.
towns have an $8,000
Yes.
tie-in fee, and we're at 20-something, 2,000.
Yep.
So, I'm always making a motion to increase the tie-ins.
Yeah.
The accomplishments for the sewer, and this is where the conversation is, we will submit the new sewer permit for the Mass DEP by March 30th, 2025. In previous years, the Charles River Pollution District, where they were the discharge of the sewer into the Charles River, they handled the permit for Franklin, Medway, Millis, Bellingham, the four of us. And they would file all the permit. And the Mass DEP in the last year, now they're making Millis have its own permit for, even though we're part of a discharge into the system. Our engineering firm, GCG, is working on our response with, I've been working with them on this. And what it basically, it states, and when I say this is the game changer of Millis, the Charles River Pollution District, when sewerage is being discharged into the Charles River, when it reaches 80%, they have to come up with programs of removal of II, meaning, the water that gets in through the pipe that leaks through aged pipes, people discharging their sump pumps into the kitchen sink that's down in the basement. And if it goes into the treatment plant, it's making us, whatever they used to push on us to, at a minimal, we have to start proving that we're removing this infiltration of extra water. And most importantly, which we're already at our 80% of discharge to the Charles River, now we have to, they never want us to make the 100%. And what are you going to do what are you going to do that you'll never make the 100%? And then the second part of it is, last year we had, I think it was 3 days, that we actually sent to the Charles River over 1 million gallons of sewerage in one day. Our capacity to send to them with the overflow, it's in the 800s in the permit. I think it's like 800 and something thousand. So that could be that's going to be an issue. So we're going to have to come up with a way of how we're going to lower that number. And there's a penalty once you go over so many days. And this will all be explained to the select board in April. We got to get the permit done first and send it in. The enterprise committee is very much aware of this. They've been working on this with us through the process. So we'll see what happens. It's time that we're going to have to slow giving out the sewer capacity, just because, an engineer may come in and say, they're making us use, meaning the state is making us use 110 gallons per bedroom. That's not going to happen. But once it's on paper, until that is removed, they're not going to free up that extra sewerage for the
Right.
project to be done. So that's an ongoing thing, and it's not, and that's why I say that, there's a lot of, you've heard this year of a lot of things saying, oh, they're coming to Millis. Well, they were coming to Millis before this permit was actually put in place. And a lot of this may have to be revisited. And that's why I say if these developers, if they come in and they say they want to put packaged treatment plants in, they want to put sewer, septic systems in, and that could, we're going to have to start regulating, not only are we, the substations that we have, there, in Millis, I believe there's 6 substations. They're going to have to also come up with some sort of a plan of maintenance, and they're going to have to prove it to the town, that their stations are cleaned, that there's no infiltration coming out of that station. And that's not a cost that's going to be on us, it's going to be also on the developments that own these substations. So,
Can you define, through the chair,
Sure.
Yep.
what is a substation?
it's a lift station, so most stations in an area, you have everything that's gravity fed into the lowest point, and then it's pumped up
Pumped
to
out,
it's
okay.
pumped up to, from a lift station, it gets pumped up to where it can go back to gravity, and it eventually goes to the,
So there's 6
Charles
of
River,
those in town?
yep.
Thank you.
So in the personnel services, again, we'll talk about that in a minute. Expenses, we're actually looking for an increase of $6,494. But when you look at the budget, you're going to see that, there's a lot of red markers down on the bottom. When I explain the cuts in a minute, the sewer department is the largest one that's going to, on the receivership of the new percentages. So the revenue, same thing, Mr. Berube, the 113,000, that's exactly, the sewer is, because the sewer is a lot more money than the water. So these are just tie-in fees.
Tie-in fees for the 113,000?
Correct. And again, the only reason I put this here, I'd like to see what it is next year. Let's see, well, if I'm doing it, or whoever's doing it, let's see if that number is where it is next year.
And are
I
those
think-
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're going to see it's going to be a lot less.
Okay. And those tie-in fees are on your budget spreadsheet here?
No,
They're not?
no,
Okay.
that's, it's an income, I mean, I think you see it when the finance director, revenues are come in for the
Yeah.
water and sewer.
Yeah, yeah,
Enterprise
yeah,
funds. You definitely see it,
Yeah.
because we use it for part of when we adjust rates.
Yep. I'm with you.
So, and quickly, the stormwater, the increases overall is, I didn't put a, yeah, that's not right. Yeah, it is 62,000, I put the comma in there,
Yep.
$62,742. It's because we're looking for increases in engineering services. And again, we're actually doing the testing. And it's just, that's what the cost of now sending stuff out to be analyzed.
But that increase overall hasn't been too much?
No,
No.
no, it hasn't at all.
Yeah, correct.
And actually, we have not had a rate increase with that. So the capital project detail, I went to the capital planning committee. This is a replacement of a 2013 dump truck. And this is on the capital planning list. It's been on that.
Correct.
It needs to be retired.
Yeah.
And this, not like the last one that I came in November, this will be split 4 ways because it's used on a daily basis. It's used by all departments. So I think it would be the general fund will pay $24,707.52, and the other 3 would be the same.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Pete.
I'm sorry to ask you to back up.
Yep.
But on the stormwater, water and sewer, you're requesting a rate model study.
Yes.
What's the funding, what's your desired outcome of those, and what's the funding amount?
Sure. So
requested?
that's going to be presented to the select board this Monday night, and it's $20,000.
Each?
No,
Total?
total.
Yeah.
And the last rate study that's been done, that was done over 15 years ago, and we haven't done one recently because of the expectation, we had no idea what this PFAS, how it was gonna hit us and the costs. So we went year over year over year, just looking at what needed to be paid, and that's how we did we set the rates.
Yeah.
So this will be a full rate study. We've never done one for the stormwater. And the So that's why we are going to ask for that Monday night. It's going in front of the Enterprise Committee. They'll have a discussion about it before the Select Board meeting this coming Monday night.
Just go ahead.
Would Kleinfelder do that, or
No,
somebody else
The
independent?
tie-in bond. Different, yeah.
Oh, good old tie and bond.
All right.
Good. So I will be coming back, before we get into this discussion, next week I'll be back in front of the board.
Yeah.
We're looking for reserve fund transfer for street lighting. I'll explain all that next week.
Okay.
And
Let me hit pause. Does anyone have any questions on the capital request for the dump truck? I know you presented this to the capital planning committee. This is in line with the replacement of what you have on your
correct.
capital schedule.
Yep.
I don't have any specific questions, but I thought I'd allow people to ask if they did.
What did the capital planning think?
We're actually going through our ranking tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was presented last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you.
I mean, a 2013 that's been plowing is probably at or near end of life. Would you say it's going to,
We're going to get rid of
going
it.
to scrap?
Yes, yes.
Thanks.
It can't even, I actually thought maybe we'd give it to the schools, but the back body is starting to rust too much and too much of a liability for even, I don't mean to even for them to get it. I mean, they would love to get spare equipment, believe it or not. I mean,
Yeah.
they're very happy when they get something, but it wouldn't even be worth giving it to them. So we will be coming for the street lighting budget, and there was one more, snow and ice.
Yes.
We didn't have that luxury. I think you have a copy of it, but I will need I thought I was going to be able to present that tonight, but the town administrator reminded me, we need to take a vote on that next week, so we can talk about that then.
Okay, so it's still under review?
Yes.
Even though that we got,
You can look at it, yeah.
we can look at it as a
Yep.
reference point. Okay.
So here we are with the FY '26 DPW department split. We talk about this every year. Maybe more than once a year we talk about it, and we usually get into a lot of discussion of people may think it's a useless conversation or whatever. But last year, when we did the study, it was done that the town needed to look at the way the compensation was coming out of the enterprise funds back into the general fund. I can guarantee you, and I've provided to this board, the enterprise funds legally cannot bail out the general fund. The general fund is the only way that they can bail out the enterprise funds. And that's the legal definition of what happens. The general fund is the bank, and the three enterprise funds work off of that. We always try to make them self-sufficient, but there could be a time that it just doesn't work. But in the past 3 or 4 years, the enterprise funds have bailed out the general fund every year. It started in the 240s, and in the last 2 years, it's been down to like 150,000. And how that works. Now that the DPW staff go in and we actually plug in I don't, but the workers, when they plug in their time of what they're actually doing, they plug in 8 hours working in general fund work. It plugs it into the computer system. The computer system, when it prints it out, it pays them for whatever they put in that they worked on. And now that we hit January, the general fund, because of all the work that's been done by enterprise fund workers, has exceeded the budget. It's running a deficit now. So in the past, the select board, and they're the only ones that can do this, they have been signing off on the payroll that would move the funds from the enterprise funds back into the general fund to keep the balance sheet correct.
Yep.
So last year, over the years, we hired one full-time DPW worker back in 2019, and that was, if you remember, we were recommended to hire 4, and then at the bare minimum to hire 3, if you've all remember reading that report. there was a change in the way that the transfer station operator, he was actually being paid, his salary was being paid out of the water fund. So that was corrected. So that balanced some of the inadequacies of the way things were done back in 2019. In 2020-21, we looked at, we did a little balancing of managerial staff, and we actually took the managerial staff and we split them 25, 25, 25. Because we felt that legally, if there was ever an audit done on the enterprise funds, we could show that, myself, the DPW office staff, and the foreman, and the superintendent was actually working was overseeing, the 4 different divisions. Last year, last year and the year before that, we were trying to look to, change the rest of it to get to that $150-something thousand, so that we would not have to do it, make these interfunction transfers from the enterprise funds back into the general fund. Last year we went, the year before, nothing was done. Last year we looked and we went twice for an override, thinking that, an employee would help this situation, because that if there was a full-time person, then that person would be doing general fund work only, and that would alleviate the water people from doing the water fund. Well, as we know that, they went down 2 times, not once, but twice. My job as the overseer of the enterprise funds is to make sure that I try to eradicate what the injustice of what's been happening for these past several years. So I worked with with the office manager and the DPW superintendent, and we came up with this percentage chart to, again, look at eradicating this situation. And this is not adding any what you're looking at the split. This is working with what we have
Right.
in the division.
This is balancing out the
Yep.
division between the different areas and the
Correct.
enterprise funds, so you're decreasing the sewer, you're decreasing the
Yep.
stormwater, and you're adding to this transfer station,
Yep.
the DPW general fund.
So if you look at in the big budget, you can see the percentages of everybody. But I figured if I did this, you can actually see it. So the transfer station in 2025, there was 1 FTE, and that was 6% of the total budget. And I believe the payroll for all water, sewer, stormwater, and general fund is that $1,245,073.12. We want to increase that by maybe almost 1% to 7%. So the increase in the transfer station would be $7,781.71. The DPW general fund, this is where it all comes from. This is because we're looking, right now last year we had 5 full FTEs. We're looking to change that to 6.60. So that goes from a 31% to a 41%. And that's an increase to the general fund of $124,507.31. That's a lot of money, and it has to come from the general fund, and it can't come from, so it has to come from growth. It has to come from somewhere in the general fund. I don't know how it can come from the DPW, because that's why I showed you earlier, our budget line from 2015 to 2025. It's not there to find it. The water fund will stay stagnant, and the decrease in the sewer will be $89,489.63, and the stormwater will be a reduction of $42,779.39. And you can see down the bottom, it's the $132,289.02. And when I say it's an increase, transfer station in general, those are both general fund expenditures. So they come from general taxes that we all pay. And the other 2 are stormwater. So that's not gonna satisfy the Millis resident. It doesn't satisfy the Millis baseball coaches. That doesn't satisfy the Millis High School, people that use these ball fields. It doesn't satisfy someone complaining about roadsides, because the work is still not getting done. It's, all you're doing, with this, you're just changing money around, and you're not getting any more work done.
You're not changing anything physically.
Physically.
Through the workers, you're
Correct.
changing things financially through how it's calculated. Correct.
I mean, I don't know if anybody has looked at these ball fields. Good luck to them. They're gone. It was a bad, whether, somebody drove a truck through it, the infields are pretty ripped up because somebody either drove a ski-mobile through it or a Jeep or something
Oh, wow.
along those lines.
Right out here in Town Park?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They have the fair out there every summer, so it shouldn't be a surprise.
It's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Berube?
There's a fair out there every year.
That, the fear isn't it's the overuse of the fields.
Yeah, it's,
It's a number of things.
it-
But
it's-
if we say
it-
there's trucks out there, I mean, we put, the whole town comes out.
it's overuse is what it is.
It's a number of things. It's a lot of things.
Yeah.
But again, so to keep the discussion going, which is, I
Yeah.
think this is what the discussion needs to be.
Sure.
If it's a number of things, it's down to, there's no one there to fix it.
Well, okay, so may I?
Yes,
Millis
you
Youth
can.
Baseball puts tens of thousands of dollars into those fields every year. And I speak because I'm the treasurer of Millis Youth Baseball. We're planning that now, and we get quotes, and the work gets done every year. We're using more of the fields out there under this current board, and the amount that they've grown baseball, we're using more of the fields than we have in past years. And I'm not saying more frequently, but we've brought on fields on board so that we can use fields less. So we've done a number of investments, and it all comes through basically fees for Millis Youth Baseball and charity fundraising.
And these
That's
are-
how it's getting done.
Great. But
Yeah, and those are all baseball diamonds that are out
The
here?
softball does
They do
does
their
that
own.
as well. yeah.
Okay.
So that's been since the day I started
Sure,
working here.
yeah.
And that money's been spent since when my kids played baseball there, when
Yeah.
I paid the fees, it was done the same way. Nothing's changed. But to me, that's unacceptable. That's how we're paying taxes, and we're relying on a youth baseball league to fix the fields. To me, that's unacceptable, Mr. Berube. And if that's the way it is, like this here, if that's the answer, oh, well, what can you do about it?
So you're saying that it should shift more to the town's responsibility?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It should all,
Yeah. Whether you're soccer, flag football, baseball, et cetera, carnival, bands.
And all those things that you just spoke to, none of that money comes to repairs of the field.
Yeah.
There's no money in the budget to repair any of this. We go out, we cut the grass, we turn the water on, we pay for the water bill, and the water guys cut the grass every single Thursday afternoon. And that's our, whatever we
That's what
do
you do.
for the fields.
Yeah.
So, in closing, the above-level service, the only way this is gonna work is if the DPW finally gets their just due, and they get 2 full-time employees. And there would be no need of this transfer of the $132,000, because if you're hiring 2 new people, they're doing the work. And there's no need that you would not, people wouldn't be going in that are being paid out of water, sewer, and stormwater, and they would not be plugging in 8 hours of general fund work. And again, then you wouldn't have the baseball coaches. You wouldn't have the high school that uses that more than anybody. They use it more than Millis Youth Baseball. They use it more than girls softball. Then it's all, they use it for soccer. They use it for football practice. And that's why the middle of the field, I don't know how you're gonna use it this year. And I say, I say good luck to you.
So what you're saying then, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have the department split where it would be adding, or instead of doing that,
You would
hiring
add
2 new DPW employees under the general fund
Fund at $108,000.
would, okay,
So those
would
numbers
be in
you see,
replace. Yeah.
That's the base salary for 2 heavy equipment operators at $108,000. The single plan, that's for 2,
Yeah.
at $17,904, and a family plan for 2 at $44,000.
Yeah.
And those numbers are gonna change, because the rates
Yeah,
for.
the health insurance will be going
is
up.
gonna- It's gonna go through the roof.
Right. But this 108, though, is for 2 employees, though, correct? This is total number, right?
Correct.
Not 216,000.
Did I put 2?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It says a new position will cover, but that
Yeah,
new
yeah.
position means 2 employees.
That means, yeah, because up top it says 2.
Yeah, I'm just clarifying.
Yep.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Kathy.
Just wondering, Mr. McKay, the insurance, is that the town portion, or is that the full amount and then it's broken down?
That's the town.
The town portion of it, okay. Wow.
Yeah, 11%.
11%, yeah, I was gonna say that, but.
I think that's what it was last, wasn't it
okay for me to
11%
say
last
it.
year? 8?
Yeah,
Feels like 11.
that is a lot of money on a town budget.
A lot of
Someday
money. It's a
you'll
lot of
have
money,
to-
period.
Someday you'll have to let us know how many in-town employees are on insurance. I'm just curious, how many?
We know that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So that's.
Does that make sense with everybody?
I just want to make certain that the money is still going to be reimbursed to the enterprise funds prior to the staff, because money is owed now. You're
Yeah,
not going to say,
For fiscal year
"Oh,
25.
Oh, well, we're giving you these people, so let's go ahead and charge the enterprise funds now."
So the way it's being happening right now is the finance director, and she'll speak for herself when she's here next week, but those funds still have to be transferred.
Right.
And I don't believe that, they've never come back to the enterprise funds, no.
Mhm. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. A lot of info.
Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you for outlining it.
I would hope we,
That's-
you know, I heard something earlier that, you vote the way you want to vote. I think this board has a role. I mean, you get together every Wednesday night, and I'm speaking as let me state this, I'm speaking
Sure.
as a citizen right now. When I heard that, that this board doesn't have a role, well, this board sits here and they listen to all this, and you do make recommendations. Whether it's the select board's budget or not, I would hope that you think, and what you recommend, I mean, you recommend the budgets, whether they pass or they fail. You recommend school projects, whether they pass or they fail. And something like this here, something has to be done. It's time something has to be done. It can't be, the can cannot be
Right.
kicked down the road no longer
Right.
with this.
The seventh
And
year.
even, yeah, you've been asking
7
for an
years.
employee. Forget the
No, I'm
structure of
talking-
how it's
I'm
done.
talking about the inadequacies to the general, to the enterprise
Enterprise
funds.
funds.
To the enterprise
That's happened year over year over year. And somebody's got to pick up the baton and speak, because your water bills are going to go up 15% for the next, and when your water bill goes up, that means your sewer won't go up that much.
Yeah.
But your water bill's going to go up 15% for at least the next 5 years to pay.
And that's not including the override money, the PFAS money.
No.
No.
Well,
You know-
I'm sorry, that is included, yeah. That would be the-
15% is
yes,
what you're saying
yes.
will, for the PFAS. I
Correct.
never heard, we've asked and not got that.
We're going to
how
find that
much
out
the
when we
amount.
do this
Okay.
study.
Yeah.
So how
Go
does
ahead,
the money
Joyce.
get to the general fund instead of being, I mean,
It comes from general taxes. It comes from
Right.
general taxation.
Versus the enterprise funds.
The enterprise fund pays they pay over almost $700,000 back into the general fund
well, I'm
for
wondering
services.
how did that happen? How did it turn out that the water and how did it happen that those 3 funds?
Well, they
how did
have to, but because people in this building do work for the enterprise funds. The treasurer collector's office, they produce the bills, they accept the money. So, we do have to, the finance office, they pay.
Percentages.
Yeah.
They pay all the
There's
employees.
a formula.
So there is a
There is.
formula.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I can show you
that's
later
all
if you want.
separate of everything.
That's separate from this.
Yeah.
Than this. It's,
No,
No, you don't
not
have-
ta- but I'm talking, well, how did it end up being that these three funds, how did it end up getting reversed, I guess is my question.
There's no money.
because the way that the DPW has been set up from day one was, it should be separate divisions. And before there was enterprise funds, and the enterprise funds came in 2010, there was no tracking of it. There was no need of tracking it because it was all under the general fund.
Okay,
So when the enterprise funds were put in place, then you had to follow guidelines of who was assigned to each division needed to be tracked. And their hours, you just can't say that, you may have one DPW, but in one DPW, like, Millis is probably one of the only towns that you can ever look at that has one full DPW. They all have water divisions, sewer divisions, stormwater divisions, and general fund divisions, parks, recreation, and stuff like that. Here, it's, if the ball fields need to be cut, out of who's ever in that, of the 13 employees, they cut the ball fields. If the 900,000 road potholes on Route 109 need to be patched every other day, everybody goes out, whether you're water, sewer, and that, they have no call on that.
And taking the
That's general
data
fund.
over the last few years,
We've proven
you're
that.
adjusting it this round.
Yes.
thank you.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
in summary, can you just explain where you see the two DPW staff doing, is there additional work that they'll be doing rather than doing the work of the enterprise staff now? Or is there anything projected? You mentioned fields.
Yeah,
Is that
we-
something that you want to take over the fields and?
So we've looked at, and we've spoken to the town administrator and one of the select board members who is very, very much in favor of, we would take, it would be like the maintenance division, just like when the schools took over the buildings, the maintenance of all the buildings, we would take over all of and that would even include more employees, but that would be including school fields, town fields, Oak Grove, all the conservation land, so on, so on, so on. I mean, we've started that discussion, and
Now, tell me this, Mr. Berube stated that a lot of materials, are the materials to maintain these fields? You'll have the staff now, whatever Mr. Berube's group used to maintain the fields, gravel, whatever the long list you have, Pete.
so,
Is that in your budget now to do that?
no.
Okay.
So what we would do is, what we do with the soccer field, the soccer group, they pay a certain fee into and it goes to the recreation department. I think they pay, I don't know what they pay, I think it was $3 or something, now I don't know what it is right now, but whatever that fee, and it goes into the general fund. There would have to be some sort of a user fee
Okay,
for if the Little League and the girls softball gave up the maintenance of these fields,
Right.
there'd have to be some sort of a fee
okay.
that would have to be paid into the town for the use of
To
those fields.
supplement the materials.
Okay.
None
Thank
of,
you,
none
Mr.
of
Chair. I
those,
wasn't sure.
Yeah.
girls softball, Millis Youth Baseball, the Millis High School, they're the only three divisions that don't pay anything because they pay, as Mr. Berube stated, tens of thousands of dollars every year to get these fields
Right.
up and running for our youth to play on them,
Right.
because the town just can't do it.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right.
Anybody up there got any questions?
I don't see anyone with questions. Everyone looks good in Zoom land? Jim, thank you very much for explaining all that to us. I know it gets complex quickly.
We understand a little bit each year.
But yeah, stay with us. We're learning. No. Go ahead, Mike.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank Mr. McKay for his comprehensive report. I know he always provides one for you. Wanted to add some of what Mr. Crone said. Jim's been outstanding in his pursuit of grants and additional funds for
Absolutely.
the town, and he should be, recognized for that hard work and that tenacity. When he sees a grant fund out there, he doesn't rest until he's able to secure it, lasso it for the town. So he's done some great work there. And I will say, the administration does support Jim's approach, director's approach, as far as bringing on 2 new staff. I think that's the most effective way to work towards closing that gap, and it also provides
Jim's
Clo-
getting excited
closer
behind
to
you.
the staff needed. And there's been no question, and Jim and I have had scores of
I don't
conversations
doubt it.
about this.
He's saying it out loud,
I don't
Jim.
doubt it.
We've had scores of conversations about the staffing needs of the department ever since that
You've been
community paradigm report certainly came in, that we've had a number of discussions that the need is there, and it's among our highest priorities to get those additional staff for the DPW general fund, so.
Mr. Chair, if I
Thank
may.
you for your.
Yeah, go ahead,
report.
Pete.
Mr. Kaczynski, would you care to characterize how the select board is receiving the request?
I can't say I fully speak for them at this point, because
I
I
don't
still
want you
think,
to, just
think there's
general.
some discussions. I think the select board is very supportive of the additional staff for the DPW. We're still working out the revenue figures, so I can't say anything is certain, but I would say the DPW staff is among the highest priorities for them as well, and we've had some discussions about that. And the details of that will be fleshed out hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
And you'll share
And-
them with us.
Absolutely.
I hope
Thank
so.
you,
And
Mr.
quick
Kaczynski.
one more quick question, Mike. What yard are we on in terms of contract negotiations?
We're in the red zone.
Okay, good. We were there a week ago.
Let's say we're almost close enough to go to a quarterback sneak into the end
Okay.
zone, hopefully.
Let's go for a
Use
touchdown instead
another-
of a field goal.
Tush push.
Maybe
All
a
right.
tush push, yes.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Very nice, Jim.
Okay, if we can approve some minutes, that would be great. Before, Kathy, what was the minutes that you wanted with the tri-board?
They're put in there. They're put,
Is
it
that on
was
the
put in
12th?
there.
It
Yeah,
was?
really. The last about the tri-board
Okay.
meeting, making sure it's recordificated.
So I'm gonna have to take some Zoom votes too on this one, but could I get a motion
Mr.
for
Chair,
February 12th?
I move that the committee vote to approve the minutes from February 12th as written.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve the February 12th FinCom meeting minutes. Why don't we're doing in-person and Zoom, we'll just go around and take a roll call. So Sarah,
I abstain.
you abstain.
Aye.
Because you're not on there. Correct. Pete?
Aye.
Aye.
John, aye. Mike? You are at this meeting, though, on the 12th. Well, you're on the next one that you can, you can abstain from. So if you want to say aye, you can. Jody? Correct. Pete Underhill? All right, it approves with 2 abstentions. 1 abstention, Jody. Thank you. So now we'll go to the.
No, two. Sarah and,
Oh, Sarah, correct, excuse me. 2 abstentions. Moving on to the February 26th Finance Committee meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that we accept the minutes from February 26th meeting.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the February 26th FinCom meeting minutes. Sarah, you are on this one. Do you want to start off? Let's do a roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Both, that was Pete and Jody. Perfect. So that passes as well. Thank you very much. I know those were on the agendas for a couple weeks there. Shifting over to liaison updates. Council on Aging?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Actually, I had printed it out, but never got back home to pick it up. But the Council on Aging is looking forward to launching their Community Needs Assessment Survey of residents over the age of 60 later this month with the help of the UMass Boston Gerontology after receiving a legislative earmark for $50,000 recently. There will be more information at our Select Board meeting on March 17th. If anybody would like to watch, there'll be a brief presentation on it.
Fantastic. Capital planning update. There are several capital planning requests. One of them's, as we've heard through FinCom already, Animal Control's requesting a new vehicle. Building department, as we heard tonight, is asking for a vehicle. DPW, as mentioned tonight, is asking for a new dump truck. We heard in prior meetings, the fire is asking for a utility vehicle to replace the brush truck, as well as requesting radio consoles for fire. And the library is requesting its on-schedule repairs with the building, and the school's requesting a special education van. Their paving came up in the conversation, but that's being deferred to maintenance, to the DPW, to the town, essentially. Tomorrow, we're meeting and we're going through the ranking of it. Last week, the Vertex came in and gave the presentation again for the proposed middle school renovation and addition, which is pretty exciting. So if you haven't checked out the school building committee website and the presentations, there's a lot of stuff on there. So it's pretty good, actually. So those are the capital planning items.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Pete.
What's, of those projects or expenditures that you listed, what's the sum total value of those vehicle purchases and console radios?
Yeah, they've fluctuated a little bit, but around 477,000.
And does anybody know the free cash available aside from must-pays? Because I see it, you know, it's on our agenda for $2 million.
Underneath that number, the 2 million? Or is that the number you're looking for?
I'm looking for, of that free cash, I think there's usually a number of must-pays in there. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I do not know that number off the top of my head. Okay. I can research it though for you if you want.
And Mr. Chair, is the free cash balance what was left over from fall town meeting, or is that after?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can find out.
Maybe we get Jody to,
Yep, and Jody will be here next week, because she's gonna cover, right? She's gonna cover all the,
or Jody Garzon.
yeah, or Jody is on. So we have our budget next week. Planning board, no, planning board won't be here. School building, is that the 12th, the 19th? Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, AR4A is what the select board selected for the option. Correct. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, and just to ride on that, at the meeting last week, the ball is in this, in the state's court right now in terms of reviewing it and coming back with more of the specific numbers instead of the budgeted numbers. But it's pretty exciting, actually. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's pretty exciting in terms of going from just repair, renovation, to a brand-new school, and everything in between, and the pros and cons with each. And I think the committee and the select board have well, they've approved it, but I think the school building committee has chosen the right one.
Oh, I commend the work
Yeah.
that they've done. It's been incredible. I mean, I've been viewing and Zoom, and watching the meetings and reading all the material and listening to the people talk. And it has been outstanding. I've never seen.
Very
In all
organized.
the, yeah, in all the 43 years I've lived here, I don't think I've seen a project worked on so diligently and so respectfully and so
Thorough.
thorough and conscious of the needs of the town, but
Yep.
also the needs of the people.
Yep,
And that goes, I mean, I have to applaud them.
yep.
I have to
Agreed.
say, though, I was involved in the Clyde Brown, and it was similar.
Absolutely.
The excellence is par
Yeah.
none to Clyde Brown, and I believe there's a lot of the same people involved in
There are.
it. So,
Yeah.
you know, it started with Clyde Brown.
Yep.
Thank you.
This is perhaps the least expensive school renovation construction project in the state. So I think that the citizens of Westwood would understand that.
Westwood?
Westwood.
What do you mean Westwood?
You mean Millis?
Does that all the time.
We're not Westwood.
That's okay. We knew, we knew. Any other final comments before we adjourn?
There's the other CPC, Community
Yeah, please do.
Preservation, there, so far, there's no new anything for town meeting requests. So,
For the record. All right, fair enough. I'll take a motion.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Been a motion and second to move to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand in Zoom land.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.